Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of Kerbal Space Program JNSQ straight off the launch pad and the liftoff of our very first probe. As you can see here, we have no Kerbals, and at the end of the last episode, we have finally unlocked some probe cores. To be more exactly, the second tier probe called the Prob Octo, and so that we have SAS. We had already the Stay Picnic. However, I do really like to have some SAS for, well, more ambitious missions. So in this mission, or this attempt here, is actually our very first attempt at sending out a probe into the new biome that I hope to obviously get into, and that is the space high above Kerbin. So all the orbits, well, the one orbit and the few suborbital hops that we did, just barely went into orbit and into the low space above Kerbin biome. So now we're going to try and attempt to reach space high above Kerbin. Thus we're only going to go straight up and then back down. As for the because we want to minimize our mass in order to be able to reach that kind of altitude, since it is no longer 270 kilometers like it is in Stock KSP, but I'm not quite sure how bloody high. I just know that 700,000 is not enough, so that's the only thing I know so far. Yes, so we have here as our craft a small, well, here the probe core, and on top of that a re-entry vehicle, which is actually one of those science return units, so we can do all the science like the science junior that we brought along with us, and then smack everything into the container and then just let it fall back down. And now, since we're through the atmosphere, we can time accelerate physical time warp. Just quickly double checking here the staging. Yes, everything's alright. On our second stage we have the small little puck engine, which has a nice amount of fuel, and here we have our apoapsis going nice and high. Let's see how high we can get it. I'm going to stop at what it would be, let's say for 1 million meters, so 1 million kilometers would be 1,600,000 meters, no, 1 million meters, there we go, not 600, not 1 million kilometers, that would be a bit overkill. We're running low on fuel. Let's actually cut it for the time being. And 300 meters per second. We can barely reach that, as it seems. And there we go. 1,007 kilometers above Kerbin's surface. So I'm going to leave this small amount of fuel left. And now time warp up here, keeping an eye on the electric charge because I don't want the probe to die. We actually have 2 batteries along, so that's just good. Okay, now there we go. Let's start already doing a few things. Let's start with the Observe Mystery Science Bay at 900,090. Yes! Okay, we definitely know that this is high enough. High above Kerbin, 38 science, brilliant. Next up, we are going to log the pressure data as if we're in a vacuum. Who would have thought that? Another 18 science, 12 from the thermometer, and our last but definitely not least, the mystery goo with only 15. Can we do some probe core science? Rename, control from here, default cubeness, toggle talk. Okay, great. In that case, there's nothing else. Collect all, so now we have all the data inside this small little pod. Brilliant. What shall we do actually? Let's go and just out of pure curiosity's sake, let's just burn the remaining fuel towards one side. Actually, do we want to do this? Doesn't really matter, does it? No, let's actually leave it like this. Orient this is very important now, because we have only this one small little re-entry vehicle. We have to orient ourselves down towards the surface, somewhere where we're going to fall back down and stop it. That was too much rotation. There we go. What will be probably a re-entry angle, something like this, and goodbye. So we have obviously the probe core on this craft, so now we can just point it somewhere else, and goodbye, and switch to the actual re-entry vehicle, and down we go. Okay, the angle's not quite perfect, let's just hope it's flat enough. Yes, we're orienting ourselves downwards, we have a blader, ridiculous amounts of G-forces, and we are in a nice parachute descent. Brilliant. So with that being said, we're gonna get a lot of nice science, and I think we actually got a new, or we will at least receive a new max altitude, I think, contract, which is world milestone or something like this. And with that, we're gonna we'll go into the R&D, have a look for new technologies, since at the end of the day I have no contracts. Yes, however, the next contract that we're going to aim towards is exploring the moon, or to be more precise, doing a moon flyby, and without a return, just a moon flyby and sending back some data. So that's more or less the next rather large milestone that we're aiming towards. I decided not to cut through this because I wanted to talk about this during last flight, so yeah. Anyhow, we got 80 signs from this, brilliant. So we now have over 100 science points, so let's have a look. We cannot get any advanced tech nodes anyway, so we need to upgrade the R&D. This is not our priority right now. Space exploration for some wheels, very interesting, no, not really. Some RCS, that's certainly interesting. Landing gear, heat shields. Aerodynamics for planes, yeah, I'm kind of skipping planes, however, for some contracts, that'll be interesting. Advanced constructions, fairings, especially fairings would be very, 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 very interesting. To make smaller satellite type of launches more feasible and more sensible. However, at the end of the day, we do really need fuel tanks and propulsion systems. Honestly speaking, I kind of want to build a small satellite with torch, probably this engine, like this, for example, like this small little engine, or the spark engine, a sort of satellite probe that can go further. However, in order to actually facilitate that, we need some small adapter parts, because that's what I actually realized while building this probe. We don't have any reasonable adapter parts, nothing at all. So service module, no, just don't even have any. Where is miniaturization? Precision propulsion, propulsion system, general construction, specialized construction, fuel system, precise propulsion. Maybe something like those. Yeah, miniaturization, there you go. So the stack separator, okay. Wait, if you don't have a small separate, I thought we'd had one. No, we didn't. Hey, that's not nice. Advanced construction, this is probably like one of these. Engine plate, 1.2 stack separator, 1.8 stack separator, adapter, 1.5 meter adapters. Well, yes, here we get some stack separator, but where just the regular separators? I'm really confused right now. Shouldn't it be like somewhere around here or here? You, what are you? 1.8, 2.5. Decoupler. This is what I just looked through. Hey, very weird. Anyways, I'm gonna leave this at that, and we're going to that's actually very curious, because the biggest problem we have right now is more or less fuel system. Well, lifter rockets, so getting large fuel tanks would be certainly interesting. Since we already have Terrier engines and Reliant engines and swivel engines here. Whereas heavier rocketry just gives off skipper, poodles, boosters. Well, they are more interesting in conjunction with other fuel, well, bigger fuel tanks, like two. Yeah, these ones. So this and this together are very important, but on their own. Let's go actually with these fuel tanks. I think having fuel tanks is a good idea. It's not going to change our technology as for actual propulsion for the time being, but let's leave it at that. As for contracts, yes, we don't have anything apart from exploring the moon. Everything else is just meh, except from obviously the service and the H service, like I already said. So, we're going to go for another science mission. So see you in a bit after I've built a nice little rocket to do another science type mission hop type of thingy. Okay, so it has been quite a while since we were very long inside the R&D, so without further ado, let's launch! Yay! Okay, so since we were waiting for quite a long time in the R&D when I was talking about yes, we're going to start just with a launch. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, it is actually a crewed mission. Second, we're bringing Valentina. Third, we have a new launch vehicle with the new fuel tanks. So what's the goal, the idea, and so on and so forth of this entire contraption here? Well, I would say primary goal is getting high a science junior material study from high atmosphere flying while in the upper atmosphere of Cuban. Kind of this is the primary way. The secondary idea is that we're going to go at least suborbital, probably orbital if things go. This is at the same time actually a test of this launch vehicle. I want to test whether we can get orbital with this. This would be very good, and we're going to go into a, like I said, suborbital at the very least, northward facing, so polar orbit. So this is actually our first attempt at actually getting a polar orbit to begin with, first of all. Secondly, getting the high altitude readings, and giving, if all goes according to plan, Valentina her first orbit and leveling her up to the level 1. So that way she will have the prograde and retrograde holding markers as well, and pretty much as Jepetiah will also go into orbit. Now at 28 kilometers, I think we are in high atmosphere. Let's check. Upper atmosphere. There we go. So we get another 22 and a half science points, which is brilliant. I think, well, we have, as far as I'm aware of, already done all the other experiments in the upper atmosphere and low curb in space. I'm still going to keep one of the mystery goose since we do have two, and instead of wasting them, I might as well get these 2 points of science data, and I like cookies. There we go. So now we're in orbital mode. Just continue burning north slightly at the inclination, so it's going to be 90 degree, and now primarily aiming for orbit. However, I think we will most likely be able to reach orbit, though I'm still not 100% sure. Like I said, as well, this is as well as a science mission, also a test flight for this rocket. Yeah, pretty much that. And the first stage ran out brilliant. So with the first stage detached, the second stage now ignited, we are on a suborbital trajectory. I'm going to cut this one, so we'll see each other once we're back in orbit. Well, once we're in orbit again. So here we are. We're just about to run out of fuel, however we are not orbital. But this at least tells me this rocket is capable of getting into orbit, however not into a polar orbit, because I mean we're like probably a few, not a lot. I mean, we can barely get it. We can already see the periapsis just tiny bit underneath the surface, so we're not short by a lot, maybe by even 100 or so meters per second. Kind of a bummer that we're not going to get orbit for Valentina, so at least this part is not according to plan. Well, according to plan as in mission objective not completed. However, this is, like I said, only the secondary objective, so could have been worse. Next up, we're going to collect all the data and then more or less focus on the secondary objective, which is getting towards the poles, and I think we should burn a bit towards the other side these last 20 meters before detaching. So there we go, we're out of fuel, going to detach our craft, and I'm going to fall back down, hopefully landing at the pole biome. That would be kind of the goal. Over here somewhere going down. However, we'll see how well this will actually work. So see you guys on the ground, or hopefully, like I said, on the ice. Okay, here we are, just coming down towards the surface, and this is not very icy, or at least it doesn't look very icy. However, once we are doing the pressure scan, as you can see here, we are on Cuban's ice caps, which is in that case actually brilliant. So we do get exactly the science that we came here for. Going to do also an observation of the goo, getting another 3 points. Kind of cheap in my kind of surprised that this is only that few science points, but at least we got a lot of that. As for the map view, we are pretty much dead on where I wanted to, even a bit further than I expected it, but yeah. So all in all, it is like a, how should I say, it's 2/3 completed, 2/3 a success, 1/3 not, so we didn't manage to get into orbit, giving her the experience. Kind of a shame. Could have been worse, though we have now 46 additional science points. But anyways, this is more or less now the situation we're in. Now, next up, we still need quite a lot more science to gain more our next technology, and I kind of want to have something or two more. However, since we are rather close, I'm still going to attempt the moon flyby mission. So I'm not quite sure how well this will actually work, but I'm going to try it in the next episode, since we're almost done with today's episode. However, there's one last thing I do want to do in this episode, and this is actually the construction. So I have built most of the crafts in a like I said, off camera to save on time. Let's call it actually. No, oops, no, it's not typing. Come on, type me something. Why are you not typing what I want you to type? Hello. Okay, then in that case, let's try this one again. So we're going to take a prob octo, and now there we go. Finally, it's working. Okay, so of course we're going to save just a probe core for the giggles. Ha 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 ha. So this is going to be our first attempt, our shot at getting towards the moon. No clue how well this will actually work, so please don't expect too much. However, we will definitely need a antenna as well as some solar panels. We're going to go with 3 solar panels. This should more or less get us most of the angles covered. I'm going to go for 1 rechargeable battery for transmitting things. Do we want to go with 3? No, we're going to go with 1 antenna because we are kind of limited by the parts that we have, only 30 parts. This is also one of the reasons why we went for the tanks, the larger fuel tanks. So that was one of the reasons why I went for the larger fuel tanks, in order to save a couple of parts. We'll bring barometer and thermometer as our 2 only science experiments. This is like literally pretty much our payload. Everything else is just going to be trying to get this thing as far as possible away from Cuban, and this is actually too large. We need smaller fuel tanks. The goal is, okay, in that case we're not going to be able to do it quite like I planned to, but whatever. With this one, I'm obviously going to use the smallest engine we have, and that's the Pug. Brilliant. Do we have a cuter little? Yes, we do. This might actually look a bit ridiculous, but at least semi aerodynamic. There we go. Now that looks like an interesting first probe, I guess. Brilliant. Next up, we are at the 20-minute mark. Still going to just just to let you guys know, this is the only thing we're going to do this episode. So if you're not interested in this build, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. However, if you are interested in this build, I hope you're going to stick around for another 2-3 minutes until we're done building the prototype. I've no clue how well this will actually work, but let's go with a 3-stage design. There we go. Now we have the Terrier. I think this is actually too much fuel for the Terrier. Well, not too much as in just too heavy all in all. So let's go with a rather more... No, this is also too much. Let's give you one more of these. There we go. And now we can double this one, put down a swivel engine. There we go. Now we're going to put down boosters, a lot of nice solid rocket boosters, in the hopes of propelling you far enough, that is. Something like this. This should give us approximate a good amount of delta V. Okay, brilliant. Now with this in mind, you're at thrust to weight ratio of 2. How is your thrust to weight ratio? 1 point something. That's brilliant. How about we add another set of... No, this will not work. We won't have enough parts. That's too small. Some nose cones and some winglets. There we go, triple. And we're actually over by 1 part. Is there something we could remove that is not necessary? The most useless thing in here is most probably the battery, since that is just secondary. However, I do not want to sacrifice on one of the 3 solar panels, because, well, with 3 solar panels we can pretty much say we're covered everywhere except front or back, like dead on. If we put it on here, we can get only if we're getting sun from the rear, the probe will die. So that's why I really like going for 3 solar panels on early probes, so just to have the angle where the probe dies be as small as possible. Obviously there's a high probability that this will still just be a failure. On the other hand, we could of course in theory just remove one of those 2 science instruments. We definitely need an antenna. I think we might actually need more than one, but this will be actually a test for that. You know what, we're going to remove the thermometer because I really like putting on thermometers on everything, so it's only going to be a barometer reading. So on the very first attempt, I guess it's going to be attempt, flying towards the moon, we'll be using Luna 1 with, where is it, auto strutting boosters, and auto strutting this one as well, just for why is my mouse not doing what I wanted to do? There we go. And auto strutting this one as well. This one can be like that. Let's have a look. What's our thrust to weight ratio? 0.6. Want to have it at around 5. There we go. Okay, 5, and that's close enough, I guess. Let's put in the engine here. Then we can put these 2 together in the same stage and use. So with this probe, we will try heading towards the moon in the next episode. And on this note, I hope you have enjoyed today's episode of JNSQ-KSP, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Spaceship signing out.